You're listening to The Back 40, the podcast for Ontario farmers, covering topics and issues that matter most to Ontario agriculture. Brought to you by Trillium Mutual Insurance, bringing the ag community together one podcast at a time. I'm the host of The Back 40, Mike Bryan, agribusiness specialist at Trillium Mutual Insurance. For many people, the Western Fair in London will be something that they're quite familiar with, but the Western Fair is currently involved in a project called The Grove. And today we're talking with James Smith and Aaron Martin about how they're supporting new businesses. James, Aaron, welcome to The Back 40.
Thanks so much, Mike. Nice to be here.
Thanks for having us.
So let's start with the basics here. What is The Grove?
Well, The Grove is an agribusiness hub where we bring people together to share resources, space, connections, and ultimately what we're trying to do around agri-food and agribusiness is create this condition that works to build innovation, education, and it's about growth when it comes to connecting companies together, connecting agriculture to food processing. Ultimately, we're two things, really. We're an incubator and we're an accelerator. And what we're trying to do is fill in a gap when it comes to helping people get out of their basement, to give them a space to come into that's food production safe. It creates that education piece and that mentoring piece, ultimately helping people to figure out how to scale up their companies, how to actually create a business that is agriculture, food processing based, where they can incubate their ideas, develop them. And then from there, if they want to, we are promoting them to move into an accelerator space within the Grove, designed to take a company to that next level where they have their own space, they're making their own product, so they control everything that they're doing within that space in order to grow their business.
You talked about an accelerator and you talked about an incubator. What's the difference between those two?
They kind of can mean the same thing. For us, the incubator is that first step towards actually really taking your business that you may be selling a product at a farmer's market once a week or even maybe just once a month. I want to be able to produce this in a little bit more larger scale. I want to start to think about how do I access other resources that can help me build a better business plan, a better marketing plan, maybe redesigning my package, whatever that is. So those incubators, they're 4 kitchen cells, and within those kitchen cells, they're rentable spaces. And within those spaces, we have specific expertise in those spaces for different companies with different types of products. So we have a baked goods specific space that has equipment and machinery that help with coming up with a new gluten-free type bread, but you're not committing and having to pay a monthly rent. You can rent this for a day, you can rent it for a week, you can even rent it for a month, but those are designed to not to be rented on a long-term basis, but on a as-you-need-it basis. We've seen that that's a big gap for people who are looking for the right space and the right environment to actually build their business and be able to get into different retail markets when it comes to food. And then from there, the Grove is designed over the next 3 to 5 years. We want to accelerate up to 20 companies within the space. We have about 60,000 square feet. We have 3 companies in there now, but those spaces are designed to when you're at a point where you need to get to the next level, 3,000 square feet, 4,000 square feet. We have some funding and we have some other resources through the Small Business Center, the LEDC, and the London Training Center, where we can connect you with people to help logistic plans, marketing plans in and around getting into a space. And then, of course, through our federal development grant, a little bit of financial support in the actual building of that space. And obviously, there's investment that a company would have to make, but some of this funding helps cover the costs and things maybe would push you to a limit of being able to access this type of a space that you can call your own. We're in this amazing agriculturally rich environment down here in southwestern Ontario. The whole idea of the incubator and the accelerator and the creating of this community that's innovative and has a lot of education involved, the idea is to connect a much stronger connection to our agricultural partners in and around London and southwestern Ontario to help them find ways to take their product to a different market.
So we're talking about a facility that's located in London, and a lot of us will be quite familiar with that facility because it's where the fair was held and also for many years where the Western Ontario Farm Show was held. Aaron, talk a little bit about the facilities that you've got these companies housed in.
As you were saying, it was the old Progress building or Canada building, or it's had a plethora of names, and it's being repurposed for this, and it's a fantastic space. It helps diversify agriculture in the area. So traditionally, we've been doing a lot of cattle. We've been moving away from that and going exclusively to cash crops. If we have facilities that are processing goods, that helps to diversify what the farmers are growing in the local area. It also incentivizes people to grow locally and produce locally and consume locally. The space itself has everything that you could think of. It's 60,000 square feet. It has all modern amenities. Construction's still ongoing. A lot of educational items we have around, like the Knowing and Growing Garden, which is part of the Grove, and the Wormery. It's a great working environment, and that's kind of what we want to facilitate there and kind of grow, not just making it a building where you go do work, but a building where you go and you can network, build your business as well.
For a lot of these companies to be able to get into a space like this would be very, very difficult for them. First, you have to find something, and you have to find the right amount of space. Besides the facilities, though, what other services do you provide to companies that get involved here?
Some of the services that we're providing and we're kind of setting up is connecting them in with places like this London Small Business Center with local producers if they need that. When they come in, we can put them in connection with other members we've already had in the Grove or other businesses that have had success to foster a bit of mentorship there. Also putting them in touch with possible grants if we can find those for them. It's putting stuff together and connecting people with other people.
So how is this all funded? Obviously, you talked a little bit about grant money that was available, but that's not going to cover everything. Who's providing the cash for this?
It's a great question. We have accessed and we did apply for a federal development grant, but that's of course just one part of it. Western Fair District has decided that this is a strategy and the direction that we want to go in this part of the business and supporting agriculture and our agricultural roots. So Western Fair is investing a good amount of money to repurpose the Progress building. Obviously, it was an older building, an older structure, old infrastructure. So it's getting a new lease of life, so to speak, with this strategy of agribusiness. The federal development funds, a big chunk of that money is really designed and earmarked to support and be shared amongst the 20 businesses that we're going to be accelerating over the next few years. But it's not just the financial parts, it's also our partnerships. So obviously RHA Accelerator you talked about with Joe Dales as part of that federal development fund. There's some money that goes towards accelerating ag tech companies. So there's some investment through their work and their fund to help develop that part of agriculture. We have the London Small Business Center. They also in kind are putting a lot of resources together in order to support our companies coming through with a program called Foodpreneur Program. And that's a 10, 11 course program designed to help you create a new marketing plan, business plan. The Economic Development Center here in London is also part of helping us find people who are ready to actually get into this type of an environment. A lot of partnerships not necessarily are putting money into it, but are helping support and in kind build this community that we're trying to build and support that. The University of Western, we have Brescia, Fanshawe College also that are a part of this. Again, when it comes to creating opportunities to connect students to learning, but connect businesses to some of the food hub at Fanshawe College, for instance, and helping redevelop your product. We've rejuvenated this idea of bringing our whole community together and then connecting with agriculture and our rural communities. And it's all leading towards creating this amazing new agri-food and agri-hub community.
You kind of alluded to this earlier too. The people that are using the space, this isn't a freebie. They're paying rent for this space as well.
That's a great point. So Western Fair helps build the base and basic services that need to go into each of these spaces. So you're actually helping to build the space. There is an investment for you. You need to do some retrofitting. You need to do some specific work to your line of business and what you're needing to do. The idea of this accelerator is to help you accelerate. The fundamental idea is to help you get to a point where you can control your costs when it comes to the leasing of a space. There's a lot of support in infrastructure and the day-to-day stuff that you need when it comes to logistics. There's a lot of shared space. That means you're not having to pay for this space all on your own. We have amazing people like Aaron, who's the supervisor. We have that support to help day in, day out. Yes, you pay a monthly lease. It's a controlled cost that you will know upfront for the 3 to 5 years that this cycle's kind of planned around. A lot of shared costs, but a lot of shared innovation, a lot of shared ideas that can also be generated in this space.
Now, you've referred to this as a community several times. Talk a little bit about what the advantages are to having a group of like-minded individuals sharing the same space. You've got several companies there. They're all basically in the same boat here. They're all trying to get up and running and further their business. There's got to be some synergies there, though, just from simply talking to some of the other people from the other companies.
Agri-Foods, they all have that bond right off the start. They're all kind of scaling too, and they went through those growing pains. They're much more inclined to help the small guy that just came in because they've went through that. They know the processes, they know the challenges. Each person that comes in, part of the reason they're there is because they are just exceptional people. They are community oriented. They are self-driven. They're self-starters. They build and they want to help other people. It's creating this fantastic community where you're getting these synergies of different people. That's part of what we really want to foster here at the Grove. It seems to be coming to fruition, and I'm really thankful for that.
How many companies have you got in there right now?
We have LiveFit, the Fritter Shop, Growing Chef, and Middlesex London Food Policy Council, RH Accelerator. We are currently building a space for Picasa for Symbio, but they do have some office space.
Yeah, I might just add one part to that. Some of those companies are in our admin building, but they were a part of the Grove initiative to begin with. But within the Grove space that we're developing for the agribusiness and accelerator and incubator spaces, LiveFit is there, the Fritter Shop is there, Growing Chefs is there, Picasa is being built right now. We'll stop building the incubator spaces in January. But then we also have one other company that is in that build stage, which is called Cafetzia, and that's a wellness coffee company. The other companies Aaron spoke about are in our admin offices and admin building.
Is your organization in need of funding for a capital project? Trillium Mutual's Roots Community Fund provides funding towards projects such as renovations, expansions, and equipment purchases that support rural Ontario. Roots helps ensure that these organizations will remain a crucial part of the local community. To learn more about Roots, including how to apply, visit our website at trilliummutual.com and click Community at the top of the page. How much more room do you have there?
In the actual Grove itself,
Yeah.
we have 4 or 5 in there now. So we have room for about another 14 companies at about a 3,000 square foot average.
How long do you expect before you see that? Is this going to be a gradual over the next 2 or 3 or 4 years so that you always have a cycle there? You said 3 to 5 years and people will be moving on hopefully to another space. Is that the goal here, that we end up with conveyor, if you like, of companies coming in and coming out at the same time?
That's a great point. And yes, the Federal Development Fund and our plan is over a 3 to 5 year period. Essentially, we have 4 or 5 companies in there now. Next year, we're going to be adding another 4 to 5 companies. And then after that, 3 and 3. So it's a gradual thing. Exactly to your point, the idea is we have a few companies in there now. In the next 3 to 5 years, they're starting to develop. So what's next? Where do I want to be? What am I looking for? I'm looking for maybe 20,000 square feet, 50,000 square feet. I'm ready to move out. And the whole idea of building this community, and to Aaron's point, the whole idea is to support and mentor people through this process. So an incubator company, for instance, can start to think, okay, so if you're moving out in 3 to 5 years, what do I need to do now to get into your space in 3 to 5 years? And as a mentorship process, what do we need to do to make that happen? So when you're moving out, I'm ready to move in, so to speak.
This has got so much potential, and there's so many of these synergies that haven't happened yet because you're just starting. but I can see a company that's been there 4 years and looking to move on, and taking a young company that's just starting there under their wing, so that they give them that same boost. Right now, you've got a lot of companies that are closer together in that, but that should be, as we go forward, that should change a little bit. So the dynamics should change within the space.
It's amazing. And we're very lucky in that we don't have the pressure of putting 20 companies in there tomorrow. We can find the right companies. We can work with them, build the synergies, and plan what companies are coming in that can support each other, help each other. We're going to be putting a packaging center that's right beside our incubator space, which is about 5,000 square feet of space. But we're looking for a partnership to help build this packaging center that can work with our incubator clients and businesses to help them redesign the packaging for their product that might be more beneficial in finding different retail outlets and retail companies, and meet some of the needs that are required by those companies to put a product on the shelf or in the fridge or whatever that is. The expertise, again, with Fanshawe College, with Western, looking to create opportunities for students and people coming out of those programs to actually help support the businesses within this food and agricultural agri-food business programming. We're always looking to improve our product, improve what we're doing. So we're building this all in this one space. And I think that's the other benefit as well.
So what type of a company are you looking for? Maybe I'm asking the wrong question there. Maybe because we sometimes forget companies are an entity, but the driving force behind them is people. So what type of companies, what type of people are you trying to get involved in the growth?
The people I would say we're looking for generally are invested in community. They want to progress is ultimately what it comes down to. And they're innovators. Innovation is a huge thing. They're all agri-food businesses, but they all have different niches and different strengths.
Somebody that you're looking at here that's particularly for the accelerator, somebody that's already got a business idea, they've got a product, and now they're just looking to scale it up.
Yeah, for the incubator, that would be someone, they're testing something out. They don't know how they feel about it. They don't know how to run a business. Their financial literacy might not be all there. That's a great spot for them to come in, test things out, see how they work, get the connections, get the financial education, the business education, talk with other members of the Grove and understand a bit who they are and what they're doing.
James mentioned that when you guys get this up and running, you're just going to be sitting back and watching all the wonderful stuff happen. I'm thinking that might be a year or two down the road, and nobody does this sort of a job just for a paycheck. Aaron, I'm going to start with you. What drives you? Why are you involved in this?
So I come from an agricultural background. My family were dairy farmers. We sold the quota in the early 2000s. I've worked in agriculture industry in New Zealand and Australia, in different areas in Canada, and agriculture has always been a big passion for me. The one thing that I see that's really important with what we're doing here is it promotes innovation. Innovation promotes growth, promotes jobs. What's the saying? A rising tide lifts all boats. It helps with promotion of diversification in the industry. If you have a more diverse industry, if something goes bad, so let's say the corn prices or soybean prices tank or any other commodity prices tank, you can have these other industries that aren't going to sink because of that. And that kind of creates a stability in the industry. And that's really what I want to see, because I want to see us producing quality products here, safe products, and making sure the farmers get paid and also the processors get paid, because a strong agricultural community and a strong agricultural industry leads to, I think, stability in our society as a whole.
James, what gets you up in the morning to do this job?
I have this passion for food and ultimately my career. I'm a chef by trade, so that's where I started my life. Anything to do with food, anything that influences food, ultimately anything that food influences, I kind of wanted to be a part of. I love the idea of connecting different types of food, products, farmers, and agriculture to the end users, and connect more to local farming and local producers. So when this came up, it was really way outside of my wheelhouse, although it brought together a lot of my experiences. I love seeing the passion of this group. They do 4 totally different things within our space. They're already starting to get together and network and solve. And that's what I want to be a part of. That's what gets me up. How do I connect people to their next success? What Western Fair District is doing. It's pretty amazing. It's pretty special. And it's very unique, not been done in this scope or at this level before.
So it's going to be a bittersweet moment when somebody comes to you, one of your companies there, and says, James, guess what? We've leased a 20,000 square foot facility in London here, and we're moving out. What do you think that's going to feel like when that first company decides that they're moving out because they've outgrown the space?
You know what? Bittersweet's a great word. I will tell you the whole idea, it's absolutely trying to do that. It's giving you the opportunity that you wouldn't have normally to build the support. Our success will be measured on the fact that in 5 years' time, you have to leave because you can't do or grow anymore in your space. And bittersweet as that is, it's going to be so much sweeter to know that we were a part of getting that company to that next level. And honestly, that excitement, thinking of 5 years out, like I can get excited about things right now, but thinking of what that excitement's going to be, yeah, sad, but so thrilled of that success. That's going to be the magic moment, I think.
Aaron?
Just kind of going off that, it will be sad to see them go because I think we're kind of building a wee bit of a family at the Grove. But at the same time, it'll be that sense of accomplishment because it means we've done our job. We've seen success there.
Well, the kids always do grow up and move out, and that's what you hope for, right? Is grow up, move out, and be successful somewhere else.
And that's to Aaron's point and to your point, that's exactly the idea. We want those companies to share their successes, share their path, share the difficulties that came along with the next generation coming through. And ultimately, what this federal development fund is allowing us to do is to create that infrastructure, to create that educational piece. And it's a very complicated agreement in that it actually takes all of those things into consideration. There's lots of opportunities for us to build that infrastructure, to build those education pieces, those learning pieces. We'll be so excited that they're at that next level and we can say we were a part of that journey in the end. Of course, I've talked about this. This wouldn't be possible without acknowledging the support of the Government of Canada through the Federal Economic Development Agency for Southern Ontario. They've been critical in the application for this project, for us to get all the budgeting and so forth together, for them to fund this project is really the catalyst for us to be able to do this. So obviously that's amazing. Along with all of our collaborators, there's a lot on our website that can tell you some more, but that's what's making this project possible, but also so very rich for all of our community and partners.
So we've talked a lot about how you help out with the companies that are trying to grow and companies that are trying to get started. But there's more to this initiative than just that. There's an education component to that as well. Aaron, do you want to talk a little bit about that?
So the Grove 365 is kind of our educational piece on this. And so this is mostly all online. And basically, it's getting as much information we can on agriculture to the consumer. A well-educated consumer is a better consumer. They make better choices. They buy better. They're more informed and they're more likely to support local. And that's more sustainable in the long run. So some of the initiatives we have at the Grove 365, we do a lot of online education. We'll have virtual tours of things like the wormery. We will be doing worm on site live tours of the wormery when the time permits it. We also have the Knowing and Growing Garden, which is sponsored by Libro, and that's a great piece just kind of walking through for people to see how local urban agriculture can work in small areas. It also shows what can be grown in the area, some indigenous species. We've also used that with one of the members at the Grove, Growing Chefs, when they did their kids' summer camps. They would bring the kids through and they could see and touch and feel the vegetables, pick stuff, and actually take it back and cook it. So helping them, especially at the young age, helping them to understand where their food comes from, how it's grown, and how to prepare it is incredibly important for creating a consumer that is very well educated and understands where their food comes from, how to get safe and really nutritious food as well.
You mentioned Libro being a sponsor there. Talk a little bit about what their involvement is in this project.
So Libro is a fantastic community partner, and they really look to sponsor basically anything that helps to educate and promote community in the area. The Knowing and Growing Gardens, one of the things they've been sponsoring, they are covering costs for things like fertilizers, plant, general maintenance, and also a bit of promotion for it.
So they have a few different elements, but they're one of the collaborators on what we're doing at the Grove. And as Aaron mentioned, the Grove is also an educational piece, so the Grove 365. So Libro is a sponsor of the Dish on Food, which is our partnership with Growing Chefs, but also they sponsor our tasting series, which is our monthly tasting food education series.
our tasting series, which is featuring local beverages, alcoholic beverages, and also featuring some of our local foods. For instance, I do believe in April we'll be doing pizzas with Arba Flour Mill and showing off what the local community has to offer.
So if people want more information about the Grove or want to get involved somehow, how do they find out about that?
You can go to the Grove's website or send either of us an email at any time. But the Grove's website will have tons of information if you're looking to apply for a space in the accelerator. And soon we're going to have more information out on the incubator as we finish construction on that. The website's address is thegrovewfd.com.
James, Aaron, I want to thank both of you for being part of the Back 40 today. We've been speaking with James Smith and Aaron Martin from the Grove in London, Ontario.
Thank you for having us.
Thanks, Mike.
Communication on the farm can sometimes be a little bit tricky. Join us next time when we'll be talking with Mel Limas about how you can improve the communication on your farm, in your agricultural organization, or even in your own family. That's next time on the Back 40. You've been listening to the Back 40, brought to you by Trillium Mutual Insurance. Be sure to subscribe to the Back 40 wherever you find your favorite podcasts so that you don't miss an episode. The Back 40, bringing the ag community together one podcast at a time. I'm Mike Brine. Until next time, take care and stay safe.